in that statement that they're continuing to be on track for. I think they're just replacing the old white tape and the old IBM Selectric. You know, they're right now turning it on and it's going, you know, and they type it out. They're looking for that tape. It's hard to find, but soon they'll have that statement. The problem with all of this, and I don't know if you've heard this, but the housing market isn't exactly strong at the moment. Remember those crazy mortgage-backed securities that all the banks got in trouble with? Yeah, the Fed has been the only one who would buy them. Well, the Fed just announced that they're no longer going to buy those mortgage-backed securities starting next month. So they either can't take any more of them, or they think everything is so stable that they're just not needed and the banks can get back into that business. Yeah, that's good. Let's see. About 2.9 million households are 90 days late or more on their payments. Moody's forecasts that 1.9 million homeowners will lose their homes this year. We're also told that the crisis is behind us. Only problem? That's 200,000 more homes that are lost, you know, and people are like, gee, I wonder what happened. Here's the key. Than last year. In other words, it's projected to get worse. So, if you can get away with keeping Fannie and Freddie off of your books so nobody really sees it, wouldn't you if you were a politician? I'm just wondering how much of that infinity we're all going to wind up forking over. I'd panic if we didn't have the president who is telling us the truth, the straight truth, every single day.
1 year later, it is largely thanks to the Recovery Act that a second depression is no longer a possibility.
Oh, goodness gracious. I'm glad to hear that. I feel so much better now. How about you?
2 Arizona parks closed today. The first round in a series of closures. The plan to privatize them next.
America's state parks are in trouble like the rest of the country right now. In Arizona alone, 13 state parks are now shutting down by June. 2 closed just last night in Arizona. Only 9 remain open. The Parks Department can't afford to operate them anymore. Well, there's a guy who's come to the forefront and he said, I'll run them for Arizona. I'm going to sell concessions and everything else. I'll make money. I'll pay the state. Sounds like a win-win because the state gets to keep the park. Just have somebody else run them as a private business. Ooh, that's a problem. Nobody's biting yet. Warren Meyer of the Recreation Resource Management is with us now. Okay, Warren, what's the catch here?
Hey, Glenn, good to be here.
Good to have you. What's the catch?
I don't think, well, personally, I'm very passionate about it, so obviously I don't think there is one. But there's a lot of things that the state fears. And I don't know exactly what's going on yet in Arizona because we're pretty early in the process. But in other states, typically there's folks that are philosophically opposed to having capitalism in the parks. There's folks where this is really new and it's risky and they fear the loss of control. And there's folks that
why is it wait, why is it new and risky?
Excuse me, I'm sorry.
What you said, it's that people think that it's new and risky. Why is it new and risky?
Well, it's not. I do it in over 150 parks across the country. It's new for each authority we try it. Remember, recreation is done by federal agencies, state agencies, counties, cities. And so for each of them individually, it's sort of a new thing they have to digest. But in my world, I have the same frustration as you. I say this is something I do every day. I run parks in a high-quality manner all over the country, and I would love to do it in Arizona and keep our parks open.
Okay, out of the parks that you run, how many of them are running in the red?
Oh, there are a few. One of the things that state agencies realize is if they have some real dogs, they don't want the private companies just to high grade them, to take only the best ones and leave them with the dogs. And so smart contractors will say, okay, you can have some of the good ones, you can have some of the bad ones, but I don't have any contracts that lose money as an entire contract.
So how do you make money?
I make money on all of them.
How do you make money?
It's completely from the user fees that are paid with people coming in. I don't take any government subsidies. I don't take any help from any other agencies. I'm completely paid when somebody comes to the gate and they pay their camping fee, or somebody comes to the gate and they pay the fee to come in, $6 to park their car and use the picnic area or the boat launch. I get paid by regular Americans coming to visit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
so how much
does this? Because it's a business I love.
How much does the state charge when you come into these state parks? What's the difference? Are you jacking up the prices?
Actually, just the opposite. The state parks in Arizona are now raising the prices, in some places doubling them from $10 to $20. We've actually proposed keeping the prices in all the parks that we're proposing to run flat, the same as last year. So we're actually proposing lower prices in the state.
All right,
and we run a number of parks right next door. Remember, there are federal authorities that run things in Arizona. I run things for those federal authorities here in Arizona. I run parks right next to Arizona State Parks and do it for a lower user fee with less visitation, and I make money and pay the government to boot.
Okay, I'm trying to figure out what the catch is, what would be stopping people other than, you know, they just don't think they just think private business is evil. Is it possible the loss of jobs? Are you going to be hiring the same, you know, state workers, or is that the way you save money?
Well, I mean, certainly, you know, I use different workers and different kinds of workers, but here in Arizona, we're past that. I mean, these parks are getting closed and the workers are getting laid off right now.
Okay.
So we're past the, you know, the job loss fears.
Okay, hold on just a second. We'll have more. I mean, I don't know why this doesn't make sense to more people. Back in a second. Okay, here's your choice if you're living in the state of Arizona. Park that's opening and functioning, or no park that's closed. Seems pretty easy to choose if you like parks. Warren Meyer is hoping to privatize some of Arizona state parks because they're closing them down because they can't afford to keep them open anymore. What happens to the condition of a park if it is closed down? I mean, is it like a neighborhood? You close down a neighborhood, everything's going to go into disrepair.
It's awful, Glenn. I've had to take care of a couple parks that have been closed for even as short as 6 months. And the amount of money we had to spend to get it back in shape, these things degrade really fast.
Okay, so here's the question. I mean, you're not going to do anything like, you know, try to build, you know, Winnie the Pooh's house in the petrified forest, right? You're not,
right.
I mean, you're not going to commercialize it.
We can't. Right.
All right.
Because my bread is buttered with people who wants to come out and see nature.
All right. So you're not going out to the, you know, the saguaro cactuses and chopping them down and making, hey, this is like Abraham Lincoln's log cabin, but out of cacti. Right?
Exactly. And we operate under very strict restrictions. I mean, we can't build a building, we can't change a fee, we can't do a lot of things without the permission of the state, and I wouldn't want to anyway because people are coming out to see the cactuses, not some goofy tourist trap.
All right. Warren, I thank you very much for your time. Thanks for being on the show. I have to tell you, America, I was just at SeaWorld, a couple of weeks ago when Bill O'Reilly and I went and we did our tour. And I went down there and took the kids to SeaWorld. I've never been to SeaWorld before. I always wanted to go when I was a kid, but we couldn't afford it. So took the kids down, and when I was talking to the people at SeaWorld, they talked about how many seals they save. And they save like 300 to 500 seals a year. And, you know, they wash up on the beach or they're starving someplace, and they take them in and they, you know, nurse them back to health, and then they release them in the wild. Now, the state does that, too, with state funds, your tax dollars in California. Or you could have SeaWorld do it, and you get an amusement park out of it at the same time. It seems to me that evil capitalism doesn't have to be evil. Isn't it better to have SeaWorld do that, and your state is still in good financial shape? I don't understand environmentalists and all of these anti-capitalists. I just don't get it. Back in a minute. I want to talk to you here for a second about a couple of my coworkers. First of all, Sean Hannity has a documentary on tonight at 9 o'clock. I think you should watch it. It's Generation Zero. It looks spectacular. The other thing is I want to talk to you about Bill O'Reilly. Bill O'Reilly came to me and he said, I'm trying to raise money for the Special Operations Warrior Foundation for our 828 project in Washington, restoring honor. And when I think of honor, I think of our warriors. And Bill said, you know what you should do? You should make available doormats. Honor starts here. I mean, he's the doormat king. So they're available now at glennbeck.com, and all of it goes to the 828 project and also to the Warrior Foundation. Special Operations Warrior Foundation. Check it out at glennbeck.com. See you tomorrow from New York. Good night, America.